Hey there, guys. Welcome back to Debunking Fitness by Kay. I am Kirsten Hellman, your guide to fitness, health, and confidence. And today's episode is all about tackling one of my, oh, I want to say, like, one of the myths that really gets to me. And it holds so many people back from truly transforming their lives. Are you ready for it? It is working on yourself is selfish. I feel like I have heard so much like negative self-talk, not self-talk, just negative talk about people who are trying to work out and to change their lives. There's a lot of people who are like, why are you eating so little? Why are you eating that broccoli? You need to eat more. You're too skinny. Or there are people who are like, why are you even lifting weights? Like, that's so vain. Like that. How dare you? Like, you're just being like self-centered and it's so unnecessary. And you're just doing it to get people to like you. Excuse me. I didn't know that it was a crime to lift weights and to care about the body that I live in. Anyway, so if this whole topic sounds familiar to you and it resonates with you like it does for me, maybe you've thought about it or like maybe you've been told this by others, but let me tell you that this is one of the biggest myths out there, and we are going to bust it wide open today. So grab a coffee, grab a hot chocolate, grab your eggnog because it's Christmas time. Lace up your walking shoes, settle into your favorite chair. Let's dive into this. So, first, let's talk about why this myth even exists. For generations, especially for women, society has glorified the idea of selflessness. So, putting others first, putting your family, your friends, work, whatever it may be first. And it's been seen as being noble or admirable. And while caring for others is wonderful and absolutely something you should do, the flip side of that is prioritizing yourself often gets labeled as selfish. So maybe you've even felt guilty for taking an hour for the gym because your kids might need you, or maybe you've skipped a healthy meal to finish, or yeah, to finish a project for work. Whatever the scenario is, the idea of putting yourself first can feel wrong, which is so backwards. But here's the thing, self neglect doesn't make you a better partner, a better parent, a better friend. In fact, most of the time, it does the opposite. So let's explore why prioritizing yourself is actually the most selfless thing that you can do. So, why isn't working on yourself very selfish? Let me explain it with a metaphor that you've probably heard before, the airplane oxygen mask. So, if there's an emergency, if and you're on a plane, obviously the instructions are super clear. You put on your own oxygen mask first before helping others. Why? Because if you're not okay and if you are dying of a lack of oxygen, then you can't help anybody else. It's the same with your health, fitness, and well being. When you take the time to work on yourself, whether it's hitting the gym, preparing a healthy meal, or simply taking 10 minutes to breathe and reset, you're recharging your batteries and you're strengthening your physicality, your mentality, and you're strengthening yourself emotionally as well. So that means you'll have more energy, more patience, and more love to give to others. Um, so let me give you a real life example of this. So I actually had a one of my clients, her name's Carol. She came to me and she had a lot going on, but one of the things that I've noticed with her is that she um was just stressed to the max. She had a lot going on, but also she was working at her job. She had a lot of things going on her plate at her job. She put a lot on her tasks. She worked for more than like 10 hours a day. Um, she is someone who does the most of the cooking in her household. She juggles everything, whatever it may be. She's just a very busy lady, but she felt incredibly guilty whenever it came to spending time on herself, so much so that I was like, my girl, I need you to have some me time. Like, focus on what makes you happy for a second. Focus on the things that make you feel whole for a second. Because you absolutely deserve that. And um, you're just like stressed to the max, girl. But here's what happened to it. So whenever she started to pencil into her calendar, spend 30 minutes a day or every other day doing something that made her happy, she became a lot more fulfilled. She became a lot less stressed. She no longer felt like she was just overwhelmed and underappreciated and not taken care of. And it was just um kind of like a breakthrough moment, honestly, for us. So if you're still not convinced by that story, like let's talk about the science of it. So self-care activities like exercise and proper nutrition directly impact your brain chemistry. So exercise releases endorphins, which boost your mood and reduce your stress. So eating well also fuels your body and your mind, keeping you sharp and focused. So whenever you feel good, you show up better for others. It's really honestly that simple. And stress management is another key piece. I can't tell you how many people don't realize that stress and your well being are directly linked together. But whenever you take times to manage your stress through going to the gym, through movement, through mindfulness, through stress relief techniques like box breathing or putting yourself kind of in your moment. I forget what this technique is called, but basically it's where you envision um, five things you can see, four things you can hear, three things you can smell, two things you can touch, and one thing you can taste or whatever. You kind of put your senses into your situation. And because you are visualizing yourself in your life and kind of noticing everything around you, it kind of slows down your like your stress reaction and oftentimes anxiety. I do that a lot whenever I'm like incredibly anxious. But anyway, whenever you take those steps to manage your stress, you break that cycle and bring more calm and positivity into your life and into your relationships. Truly, honestly, I know what you might be thinking though is like, Kirsten, I still feel really guilty. I'm doing all of that stuff already, and I still feel bad if I try to take time for myself. And that's okay because it is a process. Everything is a process. You didn't get there overnight. It's all been adding up slowly, slowly, and slowly. So start by reframing your mindset. Instead of thinking, I'm taking time away from my family or um, I am not being the mother that I want to be, try this. I'm investing in myself so that I can give my best to my family. Whenever you are running on dead batteries, ain't no way that you're going to be able to be there for your family. You're going to be just the rough and tough version of you. So, bottom line is communicate with your loved ones about why you want to make these changes, share how taking care of yourself will benefit them, and then they will support you and benefit you and understand you. Maybe if you talk to your 2-year-old about that, I mean, they're probably not going to understand. But if you talk to like your partner about that, absolutely they're going to understand. Absolutely they're going to be like, honestly, yeah, honey, yeah, do that. I think that's a great idea. I think it's important to put yourself first. Um, not to say to be selfish and to be like, okay, well, like I've been with the kids all day, so I'm gonna go to the spa for the next couple of hours and I'll be back just like whenever I need it. It's me time. Okay, maybe that's a little selfish. Because I don't think you communicated a plan, but it's all about communication. And trust me, whenever you start to communicate, hi, loved ones, I feel burnt out. I feel terrible about myself. I need to work on myself for a little bit and I need to take control of this never ending train that I've got going downhill and getting faster and faster and faster. They're going to be like, absolutely, totally understand, totally, totally get it. So let's make this practical. So here's a few ways that you can start prioritizing yourself without any guilt. So tip number one, schedule it. So treat your self-care time like it's an important appointment, like you're going to the doctor, like you're going to the dentist. Put it on a calendar, literally, and stick to it. Okay. And step two, start super small. So even 10, 15 minutes a day can make a huge difference. So if you want to go on a walk for 10 minutes, you can even bring your family with you. Go on a walk. Or if you want to go solo, totally fine. 10, 15 minutes, go for a walk, do some stretching, make a nice healthy snack that's going to help benefit you. I don't know about you, but I get real hangry really fast and I go from being totally fine to all of a sudden crashing. And I am a mess because I need a snack. And so take that time for yourself, small moments to really check in with your body and to notice what you need and take care of it. You don't have to schedule out anything that's like specifically 3 days in advance, go on a walk at 10 a.m. Like it can just be like 10 a.m., do your me time, do whatever that is for you for 30 minutes. Step number three, set boundaries. So learn to say no to things that drain your time and your energy unnecessarily. So if you really don't want to go to this baby shower that your best friend's sister's husband's niece is having, whatever, then don't go. It's okay to say no. It's okay to have boundaries. You're not going to hurt anybody's feelings. And if you are, you have zero control over those feelings in any way, shape, or form. And it's not your fault that those feelings got hurt because you set boundaries for yourself. It's especially in the way that you're like, hi, I can't go. I need to take care of my mental health. If someone gets upset about that, it's not a you thing. Okay. Step number four, remind yourself of the benefits of doing these things. So keep a journal of how you feel after investing in yourself. And over time, you'll start to see that those positive ripple effects will start to take place in your life and in your relationships. You'll start to see the benefits. Just remember, though, that everything we're doing and everything health and fitness is all about progress and it's all about consistency. It is not about perfection. If you are striving for perfection, then be prepared to be disappointed because it's impossible to be perfect. And whoever created that word, I want to just have a talk with them because that's mean to be able to tell someone that the only way that you're going to be successful is to be perfect. Absolutely not true. And if you're thinking that, throw that thought out in the garbage. It's not serving you, it's not very kind to you. So, in summary, the next time that someone or even your own inner critic tells you that working on yourself is selfish, I want you to pause and remind yourself of the truth that taking care of yourself allows you to be able to show up and be your best self for others. So you absolutely are worth the time. You're absolutely worth the energy and you're absolutely worth the effort. And the people in your life, they deserve the best version of you. So strive towards that. And then to close up this podcast for today, I have my spooky story because that's what we do here. That's why it's called debunking fitness. We talk about fitness myths and we talk about ghost stories because I love both. I don't know about you, but I have a hobby. Hi, it's ghosts, it's paranormal stuff. So this one is called My Trip to the Slaughter Yard, a story that my mom wouldn't tell me until my 30s. And buckle in because this one's a little bit wild. It's also a little bit long. So I am excited for it. Let's dive in. So let me start out by saying that I enjoy writing, so this will be long. It is nonfiction though, but will hopefully be an interesting read. I also admit that I have absolutely no memory of this experience. I was a little over 2 years old and just starting to walk on my own when this event took place. My mom only told me the story around 3 years ago when I was 32 and about to get married. My mother was raised in a very tiny fundamentalist Christian community and had no belief in the paranormal. She believed that our souls sleep until judgment day or something like this. Ergo, there are no ghosts or spirits or to haunt houses. And even over 30 years later, she still sounded terrified as she told me this. This woman who always talks way too loud was literally whispering by the end of it. And she was as white as a sheet. I believed her completely and still do. My mom never talks about stuff like this. I'm just glad that I can't remember it too. In 1988, my parents had their second child. This was my brother, Victor. It's an alias. We were very crowded in our rented flat with two babies. My parents decided to move to a rambling old 2-story farmhouse on a 7-acre plot in southern Ohio for more room for the family. It was way out in the sticks and took almost an hour to get to town from there. My mom said the first time that I saw the house, I freaked out. I was crying and saying things like, don't like mean house, ugly house, don't like, scary house, mama, don't like. My mom says this behavior was very out of character for me, but I stopped complaining about the house after a few weeks, so she chalked it up to the stress of the move. Now, this house was ramshackle AF and in the middle of nowhere. The kitchen was to the far rear of the house, and until recently, before we moved in, still had a working ancient wood burning cooking stove against the back wall. This had caught me this had caught the back wall on fire a couple months before we moved in and caused a lot of damage. A lot of this damage wasn't fixed, so my young broke parents got a very cheap rent agreement. Gotta love the 80s. On the second floor, directly above the kitchen, was a locked room. The landlord claimed it had heavy fire damage, but her son, who had done the repairs, claimed the only fire damage left was in the kitchen since it had been the worst and was beyond his skill level to fix. Either way, the landlord was adamant that the room was off limits, and my parents always respected that. I would have looked 100%. I know all this because I've heard stories about the crappy farmhouse with the creepy door my whole life, and there were pictures of us in and around the farmhouse. The locked door was right next to the upstairs landing, so there was no avoiding it, and both my parents have told me that it gave them the creeps. A few months after we moved in, my mother and I were in the yard with our pit Doberman mix, Boss. She was hanging laundry, and I was rolling around with the dog. She said that just as she noticed that everything was way too silent, Boss started going crazy from surprisingly far away. About 500 yards from the house on the left, there was a small duck pond. Boss was in between the two, running towards my mom and then turning and running back towards the pond, barking frantically the whole time. My mom saw something thrashing around in the middle of the pond, so she took off towards the water full speed. Boss beat her there and drug me out of the water himself. Thank you, Pupper. Love you. Although my mom was confused how I got so far so fast and how I got to the center of the pond since it was over my head and I couldn't swim. She figured she underestimated me and brought in the baby gates and playpens. I was to be contained from now on. A few weeks later, she was cooking downstairs. Boss was outside, Victor asleep in his crib, and I was in my playpen in my room upstairs. I also had a gate on the door and one at the top of the stairs. The stairs ran up from the side of the kitchen, so my mom said that she could listen for us crying or fussing while cooking. My mom said no longer than 15 minutes after the last time that she looked in on us kids, Boss started going crazy again in the yard. She runs up to check on us. Victor's still sleeping. Every baby gate is still shut and locked, but I am not in my room. A frenzied search reveals that I'm not in the house at all. A sudden image of Boss saving me from drowning causes my mom to rush outside to see what he's trying to tell her this time. She said he was running circles in the yard, barking uncontrollably. When she got outside, he took off towards the right, away from the pond. He would run ahead, turn around, and bark at my mother, wait for her to catch up a little before racing off again. He ended up leading her almost a mile and a half out onto the dirt road that separated our property from the neighbors. He led her to a thick stand of trees on our neighbor's side of the rocky drive. She said what hit her first was the foul stench of advanced decay. She plowed into the trees with her heart in her throat and her stomach full of ice. She said she noticed many piles of corrugated tin, tarps, tires, and other debris. The miasma was emanating most strongly from these junkyard cairns. Peeking under a sheet of tin, she discovered the extremely decomposed corpse of a butchered cow. As she headed deeper into the thicket where the tree cover was denser, she said less care was taken to recover the remains. Grisly pieces of bones and rotted chunks of bovine littered the area. Apparently, our neighbor, in an effort to cheat his taxes, had been illegally slaughtering cattle and hiding the remains in at least one of the few thick stands of trees around. She found me in the dead center of this thicket, just standing there, looking around like I was confused, surrounded by carnage. She said I didn't seem scared or anything, just standing. She rushed over to me, and after ascertaining that I wasn't injured, began questioning me why I was in there, how I got there, etc. Keep in mind, though, uh, that although my mother said I started speaking very young, I still didn't have much of a vocabulary. She said I told her with that serious look only small children can give that the children brought me here. Crapping her pants at the thought that anyone, even children, could walk right past her through the kitchen, get me from upstairs, walk right back past her on the way down the stairs and out with me. She demanded to know what children and where the heck they all are now. I looked at her dead serious and told her the ones that live with us in the room at the top of the stairs and that I didn't see them anymore. After a moment of stunned silence, she started asking all kinds of questions about these children. However, she told me that I refused to say anything else. She said as long as she questioned me about what happened, I would just stand there and staring at her with a serious expression with my mouth closed. She said that this same pattern held true every other time she brought it up to me. So she was always left wondering and immediately began hounding my dad about moving closer to town. While the incident with me getting to the pond was highly unlikely, it was at least remotely possible. My mother is adamant that me being in the hidden slaughter yard that day was flat impossible. She says there's no way that I could have even known it was out there, much less have the ability to open and relock the baby gates, get downstairs past her, and end up almost 2 miles down the road and in this place in under 15 minutes. I was only two and as slow and clumsy as most toddlers. And I said she's still shaken by it after 30 years. Personally, I have no idea what happened that day. I thought about hypnosis, but haven't yet decided I really want to remember. Maybe it's better to let it be a mystery because whatever the heck those things were, I really don't think they were children. Ooh, okay, that one gives me like alien vibes. That one feels like not so much like Ghost. I don't know about the children, but it feels like maybe like a slip in time or something like that, or like a weird alien encounter or something. I don't know. That's really creepy though. And I swear if that happened to me and I had a baby that I knew for a fact was completely chain lock, impossible to get out upstairs, my child, and I know that my child is not smart enough to undo a lock and redo the lock and then walk downstairs, and also not fast enough to walk 2 miles in under 15 minutes. Like, that's a little weird. That's a little weird. Oh, that's so unsettling. Anyway, let me know what you guys think of that story if you have any thoughts of it. But thank you so much for tuning in today. If this episode at all resonated with you, share it with a friend, leave me a review. It helps us reach so many more amazing people like you. And also, don't forget to follow me on Instagram at Performance by Kay for more tips, inspiration, and support. And if you have any questions at all, um, go to my website, www.performancebyk.com, and I can help you reach your goals and create a new life for you and give you all of the support that you need in your life. So until next time, keep working on yourself. You're not just changing your life, you're inspiring everyone around you. So I'll see you soon.